Mm. Yeah, those out in the Rockies, we would go out for 11 days at a time, um, climbing around in the Rockies, and that was an amazing time. But I want to go to my title here, Sacred Earth, and I want you just to take a moment and as I play the rain stick, just sense the earth beneath you, holding you no matter what mood you're in, no matter what you're thinking, feeling, doing. The earth just welcomes you as you are. Just take a moment and be with that. All right. So just a sense of the connection of the earth. Um, and hmm, I want to tell you about my mom. My mom was a literature professor for, I don't know, 25 years or so. And she was a big fan of history. She studied history a lot. And one day she came to me and she said, I'm gonna write a book about animal sacrifice. And I went, what? You're gonna what? You're gonna what? And she said, yeah, I'm gonna write a book about animal sacrifice in ancient civilizations. And I said, animal sacrifice? And she said, oh, she said, people confuse human sacrifice and animal sacrifice. Let me tell you, animal sacrifice in all these uh, ancient civilizations was a special ritual in which um, people offered gratitude and um, blessings to the earth and to nature for giving them life. So it's a very special kind of ritual in which the um, the animal that's to be sacrificed, there's a great reverence and love for taking that life, but for reconnecting to the earth and all that the earth gives us to sustain us. And when the ritual is complete, there's a feast. That animal is not just left there. No, that animal is consumed. That animal is taken in for life. And we all know that in order to live, you have to consume life, whether it be animal or plant. Life is what allows life to survive. So during this time that she was writing this book, one of the cool things that happened was my son, who is here taking courses at various different community colleges, got very interested he was very interested in history. He wanted to help her with this book. So he became her research assistant. And as they worked together on this project, he also kind of became her editor. He was really working with her to write this book. It turned out there was some sort of grace of spirit that happened. That happened to be the last year of her life, which we wouldn't have predicted. But I will forever be so grateful that my son got to know his grandma really well during that last year of her life. So recently I've been asking him about writing the book, and I said, so what are the things that she was really trying to communicate with this book? And he said that we have in so many ways lost touch with where our food comes from. We have so lost touch. You know, we go into the grocery store to buy our food. We don't see where all of we're not part of the growing. We're not part of raising the animals. We're not part of that whole process. And we're sort of removed. We're sort of distant. And so you see things happening out there that are, how shall I say it? Practices that may not really be part of helping life thrive. So there's the way that animals are treated. There's hormones. There's overcrowding. There's all kinds of ways that animals are treated that are not humane. And then there's the raising of crops. There's pesticides and GMOs, and there's all kinds of practices happening that are not life-sustaining. And so what my son was saying is that during the times where these ancient cultures were having these rituals, there was just this deep connection to the earth, this respect, this love, this appreciation, this complete gratitude. And so every time there was a ritual, that was honored, and that connection was deep. But he said it also, ritual itself, ritual draws the community together. Ritual is kind of the language of the unconscious mind. It's sort of a direct connection to the collective unconscious. And so by having ritual, it brought the community together. And if you think of the word community, it's unity, community. And so having that ritual just bonds the community together in this sense of love and respect. It really brings that unity. So he says that once those rituals were not being practiced, so a lot was lost, both in connection to the earth, the sacredness of the earth, but also in the sense of bringing communities together. And I asked him, so what were the communities that she was studying? Here's the list. Neolithic, the Canaanites, Samaria, Mesopotamia, Phoenicia, Egypt, Mycenaean, Greek, Roman, Ainu, which is Japanese, and Hebrew. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of different civilizations that were all practicing this ritual, this honoring. So the book wasn't completed, and I don't know if my son will ever complete it, but I think its message is powerful. Its message is a little reminder to each of us to come back. To come back. And I think saying grace before eating is one way to do it, but there are many ways that we still now can honor and celebrate the sacredness of the earth. I think it's not too late. I think we can each be a conduit for that process. So what I wanted to do first is I wanted to give you a little, I want to talk about some of the traditions that are still honoring the earth. And this is a Gaelic blessing. So the Gaelic blessing is deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you, sending love and light to you. So that's your Gaelic blessing. And then I want to talk briefly about a practice that Thich Nhat Hanh does. He is a Zen Buddhist priest, was. Well, his spirit is here. And he is one of my heroes. And one of the things that he talks about, and I like to play his CDs in the morning, every morning, just to bring myself into alignment with that. So he says that we need to nourish ourselves by noticing what is good in the world, what is beautiful, what is nourishing. And he says the word the Bud part of Buddhist means to be awake. And to be awake is to be aware of what's happening on the side that's good and what's happening on the side where we need to want to help change or transform or make peace with. But he said, in order to nourish ourselves, we want to be aware of what's good. So he says, on the way, when I walk to my little meditation hall, I notice the beauty of the sky and the warmth of the sun. And I notice the beauty of the trees and the flowers. And I'm making peaceful steps on the earth. And I know that the earth, our mother, is still here for us, holding us. And so I offer that to you as a practice, as an invitation to take in that beauty, take in the spaciousness of the sky, the warmth and light of the sun, the flow of the waters, the support of the earth, and of all the different life forms that are growing. And I want to read something from Earth Medicine by Jamie Sams. So the Native American traditions this is their deep practice to honor all life forms. So she says, in Native American culture, we see everything as being alive. Each living thing has a specific role as a teacher and family member. Everything on earth, whether stone, tree, creature, cloud, sun, moon, or human being, is one of our relatives. We capitalize the names of each part of our planetary family because they represent the sacred, living extensions of the great mystery. And they were placed here to help humankind evolve spiritually. And we do not consider Grandfather Sun a deity. We do not worship trees or rocks, but we do, however, see the eternal flame of love that the great mystery placed in all creation. And we honor that spiritual essence. In the Seneca language, we call it orenda. This is the spiritual essence or creative principle called the eternal flame of love found inside all life forms. There's only one original source, and we call that creative source the great mystery. We teach that all life matters, and we honor the medicines of all life forms as sacred extensions of the great mystery's loving plan. And then I want to read just briefly another teaching. Tom Brown Jr. Has written many books. I don't know if any of you familiar with Tom Brown? Tom Brown Jr. When he was 12 years old, he and his best friend Rick encountered an Apache. He was a chief. He was a scout. He was a shaman. They called him Grandfather, and he taught them for 10 years. Out in nature, out in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. He taught them everything about surviving in nature, everything about all the survival skills, but also about the deep spirituality of it. He was probably one of the most, they called him Grandfather, was probably one of the most, his name was Stalking Wolf, one of the most spiritual people. And I've read lots of the books. This one's The Vision, there's The Tracker, The Search, The Quest, lots of books if you care to read them. And this is one where he talks about Grandfather. So he himself, he said, I was deep in prayer. This is Tom Brown talking. I was deep in prayer, consciously, unconsciously, losing myself in meditation in the deeper recesses of the misty shadow. And I know of no one who could have sat in this place at the edge of the misty sun and shadowy forest who could not have been in prayer at peace with creation and flooded with unspeakable awe. The kind of morning always tears away all cares and duties, all fleshly wants, and bears the soul to the elements to be washed and purified. And so he said, everywhere in the forest, the animals moved, blending their motion to the flow of the forest, and another flow entered. That morning, Grandfather drifted slowly down the trail to the stream. I knew he knew I was there, for there was little he missed in the woods. He stood for a long time, gazing at this water. As if distance would put it into perspective, he glanced up and down at the stream leisurely and methodically, as if searching for something. His eyes rested on the cathedral of cedars for a longing moment, and I caught the glisten of a tear on his cheek. To me, he appeared as if he were about to enter a temple and about to see God. As I sat and watched, my mind took a strange turn. Changing reality and dropping the self, all analysis ceased, and I began to look at Grandfather as if I were watching a stranger, as if there were no perimeters of or consciousness of time or place. The whole relationship between Grandfather and me was a fantasy. I saw each move as I had never seen it before. Though I had known him for over 8 years, his movements overwhelmed me now. Sometimes one gets so close to something you can only see it in parts separate from the whole. Sometimes one gets so familiar with something that the commonplace, the awe, the everyday teachings fade from view like trying to see a flower by holding it against the eye. He approached close to the water's edge and stood with his arms raised in an attitude of worship. Again, looking upstream and downstream as if searching, pausing at every glistening riff and misty hollow with his gaze. I could clearly see the streams of tears on his cheeks glistening in the sun, the contented smile on his face. He kneeled solemnly and touched the water ever so gently as he watched his own concentric rings ripple and mix with those of the water strider. He began to stroke the water as if it were a living being, looking deep into its color to the mosaic of sand-mixed pebbles at the bottom. He drew his face close to smell the water, then took a light sip. He sat back with the water in his mouth and swished it back and forth. His actions would have put the most experienced wine taster to shame. Reaching deeper into the water with cupped hands, he raised the water to the Creator in thanksgiving. Then and only then did he drink. Standing erect once again, he dropped the blanket and entered the water. I could see his entire body trembling with excitement and the smile on his face. As he lay back in the water, he was one of total rapture. Grandfather savored everything in life as he savored the water, fully with all his senses, in a state of utter rapture. He would walk through the forest, fondling leaves, touching flowers, hugging trees, lifting loam in cupped hands to smell. He would observe even the most common things for long periods of time, extracting every nuance from them. Life was always new and fresh to him. He was a child, always at play, searching, tasting, touching, smelling, hearing, seeing the world and life fully. To him, every entity of earth was an object of worship. His life a constant prayer of thanksgiving. His quest always for rapture. So I think that too is an invitation to us. Can we bring ourselves back to that awe, that rapture, that moment of deep communion with nature? And so I want to just leave you. I'm going to do a brief little meditation. This is a Thich Nhat Hanh meditation. So if you want to close your eyes, get comfy. I want you to just take a moment and imagine flowers. Beautiful, fresh, radiant flowers. And as you breathe in, you say flower. And as you breathe out, you say fresh. And you become a flower. Flower, fresh. And then imagine a beautiful mountain, strong, solid, powerful. And as you breathe in, say mountain. As you breathe out, say solid. And you become a mountain. And then imagine a beautiful alpine lake up in the high country. So still, so calm, it reflects everything. The sky, the trees, everything just as they are. And I want you to say, on your in-breath, water, and on your out-breath, reflecting. And And you become that still water reflecting. And I want you to imagine the sky spacious, free. And I want you on the in-breath to say, space. And on the exhale, say, free. And I want you to become the sky. I want you to know that these are your relatives. You can become one with them. Flower fresh. Mountain solid. Water reflecting. Space free. And to know that you are on and part of the sacred earth. And as you come back into this room, just feel your hands, rub your hands together. Feel your life force. And thank you all for being part of this honoring of the sacred earth.